Okay, happy Monday, everyone. You're listening to the Monday Morning Learning Podcast Season 2, where we turn every Monday into an opportunity to grow and learn. I'm your host, Ravi, and today we have a special guest, rather a very special guest, who will add immense value to your week, Pankaj Rai. So, Pankaj, from what I've learned the last time, you don't like introductions, so I'm not going to try that. We're going to delve directly into the topic. Is that okay?
Ravi, whatever your audience likes, we are there for the audience. So please go ahead with whatever you think will appeal to the audience. I am just a tool.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Pankaj. I've been reflecting a lot on how we as Indians can come together to build a stronger, more united Bharat while staying true to our roots. And with that intent, I'm excited to reintroduce season 2 of the Monday Morning Learning Podcast, a space for meaningful conversations that blend multiple themes, leading to fresh insights and deeper understanding. So with Pankaj, there is one theme which is selected. There are actually 9 themes which I've listed, but he selected one which is youth and direction. Uh, Basic intent was with so many voices influencing young minds, how do we help them choose the right mentors and what exactly is the right direction? So we have 3 sub themes, Pankaj. One is on navigating the noise, where Pankaj will try identify authentic mentors. We look at the mentor versus the influencer dilemma. We look at finding the right guidance in India's cultural context. The next sub theme is the right direction, purpose versus popularity. And lastly, we look at self-discovery and inner compass, becoming your own guide. So, Pankaj, shooting the first question from the mentor versus influencer dilemma. Uh, the questions basically around how has social media blurred the line between mentorship and influence? What are the red flags to watch out when choosing a mentor online? And can influencers also be mentors, or are they two inherently different according to you, Pankaj?
Sure, Ravi. And let me just give some preamble. So first of all, my data set on based on which whatever I'm going to share my learning, I should disclose. So two of the data points are in my home, my two daughters who are working and staying at home. So we have conversation with them. I would say there is about 30 data points in my office. There are quite a few young people, 0 to 3 years of experience, I would say, 13 number. I periodically talk to them. And there are a multitude of data sources elsewhere. So it could be my friends' children or some acquaintances' children, because many a time they would ask me to talk to them. And some of them would be in the US or Europe or somewhere else, some of them India. So I'm just disclosing the data set based on which my model is trained so that we know where I'm coming from. Now, coming to your question, I think I will kind of reflect on that question also. See, if you think about mentorship or influencing and things like that, I think it's all it needs a purpose. You can't have a mentor if you don't know what you want. You can't be influenced again if you don't have any idea. And if you don't have any idea, then the mentor or influencer could actually be harmful because without realizing what you are good at or what you need to do, you may get to do something which is not right for you. And we have seen, sometimes you say, "Arey, so and so kid has gone astray because of something or the other." And the reason for that was for whatever reason, they didn't have a point of view and they got, carried away by someone else's influence or mentorship and so on and so forth. So I think the focus I would feel from my perspective for my children or anyone else would be to say, how do we make sure or ensure that they are thinking about what is right for them. I mean, when I say what is their purpose, it becomes like a very big abstract statement, but at least something that they aspire to do. And then in that aspiration seeking, they can utilize the mentor or the influence or whatever. So I think the focus on the goal comes first, and then this comes next. So that's why I wanted to just put that in perspective. Now let's assume there is some sense of direction, or there's something that you are seeking, and then there are these two types of characters, Ravi, that you mentioned, which is a mentor or an influencer. I think everyone can play a role in our lives. I think I don't get worried so much about the word whether it is a mentor or influencer. I think whoever gives us an inspiration or whoever gives us some tools that we can use, they should be good. Now, I would feel that many a time these influences can actually provide a lot of inspiration. because many influencers, I mean, the good ones have lots of followers. They have figured out a way to inspire themselves and inspire others. And that can be a good way to think about, we all many a time get inspired by film actors or larger public figures and all of that. To me, all of us have had quote unquote such influencers. They were not social media influencers, but we have had influencers in our life. They were larger than life figures, and we were influenced by them, and they inspired us to do things, and so on and so forth. So I think an influencer. I mean, I would call. I don't know. I mean, I would call Gandhi as a huge influencer of our times, of our century. All of us were influenced by him. He wasn't the regular influencer, but I would think he was the master influencer of all. So I do think, and he may have mentored some people. He certainly didn't mentor me, but there's a lot of things that I have taken inspiration from him. So I would call that a good thing, and there could be bad influences as well. And similarly, mentors would be people who are closer to us, who know us, and they can give more personalized advice. So I see a role for both of them as long as we know where we are going and how to leverage those advices versus just being carried away into copying them on whatever they are doing, or the mentor may be not fully appreciating our context and giving us advice based on what their own aspirations were. Many a time, parents tend to become that. They mentor their children in a way that, oh, I couldn't do that, so you should do this. That's not a good way to do it, and that could be possible in any other mentorship relationship. So therefore, I would say that the onus on the user or the one who's going to use this thing is to one, try and get a sense of where you want to go, and try and not get too carried away by either a mentor or an influencer. Try to parse that advice into their own this thing, think about it and utilize it. Maybe a long answer to a simple question, Ravi. Yeah. Yeah. So first of all, I think there's a lot of fascination for um, unorthodox, non-traditional, modern, and this, that, and the other. And I think many a times I don't know whether that is as valid, because what tends to happen sometimes is that we throw the baby with the bathwater. So it's not as if everything that was traditional or orthodox or standard was bad. I mean, many a times, and you may have found it as well in the office, a lot of people will say that, I want to do innovation. But there is someone who's doing the daily work, and that thing has to be done. I mean, if you look at our society, there's so many things that need to be done in a good way and need to be improved. But they may or may not seem very innovative from the outside, but they are nevertheless useful, meaningful contribution that someone is making in the society. So therefore, this I would say fascination for something out of the ordinary is not a bad one, but we should realize that that thing will occupy only a portion of your time and not the whole of it. It's almost like saying I like sweets or I like chutney or achar, but that's not the whole food. I mean, I have to have the regular food, which is important. It is nutritious, and on top of it, I can. It's like a cherry on the cake, but you can't just eat cherry, right? So I do think that we have to have a sense of balance and a sense of portfolio, that this even in our portfolio, we put these high alpha things in small numbers, not whole of it, then otherwise it becomes too risky. So we have a balanced portfolio of various things, and then you put a few risky assets, right? So irrespective of which way you look at it, I think we should aspire for those unorthodox things, but we should also realize and sustain a lot of good things that are already there, very useful, very meaningful. It's for us to give meaning to it. Things don't come with meaning attached to it, because many other people say, "Oh, that's not useful. This is useless. That is not meaningful." I said, "End of the day, meaning is what we give it to them." It's that I don't know whether you have read the story of that famous Apollo mission, when someone walked into it and there was a janitor, and he asked, "What are you doing?" And the janitor said, "I'm putting a man on the moon." So it depends on how that person has interpreted his job. So while he was sweeping the floors, he felt he was contributing to a much higher purpose. And similarly, I'm sure there would be people doing seva in some of our religious institutions, doing sort of on the face of it menial job, but the meaning that they have attached to it is far more spiritual and high order, that they just do it. So I do think that there's a lot of onus on us to find meaning in the world around us and make it meaningful, because like I said, it doesn't come in a package with meaning attached to it. So that onus is on us. Many a times it appears that the onus is on someone else. Many a time people will, in companies or in society, will say, yeah, this is not happening, that is not happening, this is not meaningful, this is purposeless. End of the day, we have to find that, someone can give us a hint.
Yeah.
Companies will give you purpose statements and someone else will give you some statement, which is a nice hint.
Hmm.
But we have to filter it and make it our own in our own way and in our own language. Yeah. See, I think I believe that the back in the day, and it always feels very old, and clearly I am. The life was more simpler and more predictable. So if some things didn't work, usually it was an exception rather than the rule. And therefore, the failure was defined as things that didn't work and sort of looked down upon that if things are so predictable, why can't you even get this right? That was the notion based on which failure was sort of looked down upon that, in this predictable world, why can't you even appreciate this, something like that, right? Now, as the world became very volatile and non-linear, I think there was a lot of focus on experimentation because you didn't know what will work. So the idea was you try a few things and something will work. So out of 10, 7 or 8 will not, two will work. But now to say that eight were failures and two were successes, I think that will probably not be the right approach to think about it. So I think that the failure needs to be redefined in the current context. The context has changed. Maybe in a very linear, predictable world, if people didn't appreciate it well and didn't get the right outcome, you could have called it a failure. And maybe they would have said, yeah, I need to get better at understanding the pattern and do it better next time and succeed next time. That was good in the linear world. I think in the volatile world, we actually have to encourage experimentation because if we say failure, then people will try to avoid failure. They'll become risk averse and they will actually do the reverse of what is required today. I think today there's an opportunity and a need to drive innovation, and the innovation can only happen through experimentation. And experimentation, by definition, means that something will not work. I mean, we have all done experiments in science class, right? Many times they didn't work. So I think the definition needs a change. And we need to, sometimes people say we reward failure, or I would say we reward experimentation and discovery and resilience and learning and so on and so forth. So that's my impression of how to reimagine some of these paradigms of the past in a new way to take care of the needs of the current and the future. Yeah, I think I also sometimes think about India and Bharat and countries and nations and the world. On one hand, we also say that the entire world is our home. It's our culture which has said that. And on the other, sometimes we become very jingoistic and nationalistic and so on. So my personal view always has been that end of the day, we are all part of a large ecosystem, large Brahmand, depending on whichever way you define it. And we need to find a way in which we can make the most meaningful contribution as individuals. I think we can take inspiration from our nation, from our past, from anyone and anywhere. But eventually, I think the most useful thing or the most meaningful thing for us would be to make a personal contribution because I sometimes feel that it is possible that we can get carried away in either some glorious past or a idea of a glorious future and forget our own duty in that. So to me, the karma or our duty comes first. And if any type of inspirations allow you to do that karma, that must be good. If the idea of our past glory inspires you, great. If the idea of a future Viksit Bhai inspires you, great. Whatever inspires you is great. If none of that inspires you, something else from somewhere else inspires you, science fiction inspires you, great. So to me, I think the main purpose is to seek inspiration. And I think to different people, that inspiration may come from anywhere else. But I think the goal of any of those inspiration is for us to become bigger, better, broader than what we were yesterday. And they say with great freedom comes great responsibility. So it's hard. I think there's so much distraction that today's generation. I mean, all of us also have that distraction. Our children also have many more distraction. I think clearly one way to reduce that is to find something meaningful that you pursue that, right? So, for example, I mean, you're aware. I mean, I have found running to be a very passion for myself, and therefore I spend a lot of time doing that, and it's good. So I think we have to allow people to experiment and find something meaningful that is good for them, good for the society. But distractions, see, distractions were always there, but they were less in number and harder to access. Today, they are much more and very, very easy to access, especially in the social media and so on and so forth. So while the government and the regulators and everyone else is doing what they're doing to reduce the bad effects of these addictions, I think and it's somewhat upon us as as parents or as elders to just try and see if we can provide avenues and opportunities for our children or whoever we have influence over to try out things, hoping that some of those good for them, good for society things they will like. And if they like that, hopefully they will, not go astray into other things because left alone, people can try out things which are not good for them, not good for society. But can we create situations and opportunities to do that? I think that is probably something we can try. And I think the number one is related to career itself because everyone wants to find a very well-defined career path because their parents in the previous generation had it, and everyone is talking about the term career path as well. To me, a career path is again a older taxonomy, not relevant in the same way and needs reinvention. So my regular thing is that the companies don't have a career path, and how can the individual within that have it? So if you just look at Amazon company, I mean, I just look Amazon as an example because it's a new age company, very well known to all. So I tell folks that for personal issues, you can consult the Bhagavad Gita, but for professional ones, you can consult Amazon because the way they operate, they kind of represent the new age corporate culture. And they have not been in the same industry. They started selling books, they went selling cloud, they did anything else. Tomorrow they can put a rocket to the, this thing. So the common thing is not the industry, not something, but just the desire to reinvent themselves in pursuit of the customer. So all other taxonomies are not relevant. And therefore, if you were an employee inside that and you were just doing one thing and not reinventing yourself, you will be rendered useless. You will not have any career path in that company. And therefore, if Amazon sort of represents what's out there or what's there to come, then it's your duty also to continue to reinvent yourself in pursuit of the customer and not hope that the degree that you acquired in 4 years because your papa told you so will last you another lifetime. So I do think that some of these new lessons we have to learn, keeping in mind what is happening out in the economy and what is likely to happen. No one could have imagined Gen AI. Many people learn something, imagining they'll do that. But now they'll have to do something else because they'll have to learn this new technology, and this will just continue to happen. And therefore, I think that what can be constant is a sense of goal, direction, purpose. The tools to get there will continue to change. I don't know whether I have spoken to you, Ravi, about this topic or not, but there's my own personal 3P framework, almost like a Maslow's hierarchy that I have come up with, which is process at the bottom, product in the middle, and purpose at the top. So in the standard stable world, process was king. I was a Six Sigma guy. We would manage through process. As software matured, we all became product managers because product was seen to be more flexible. But now with agentic AI coming in, many of those products may become obsolete, but purpose will not go away anywhere. So all these three always remain, but your JD at a process level could last you a lifetime 50 years ago. JD at a product level could also last you a lifetime 30 years ago. But today, the only JD that will last you a lifetime will be the purpose level. Product and process you'll have to keep learning and keep reinventing is my sort of way of thinking about it, really. So I think again, in line with what I said, since the world has changed, we have to reimagine and rethink about this, the way this question is framed as well. So I think when it was a waterfall world, you were managing projects, you were managing people, you were managing things because things were predictable and you could manage them to get those roles. But in this today's world, it's all agile. You don't even know what the next sprint is going to be. You have no idea what this product will look like 1 year from now and so on and so forth. So you can't quote unquote manage resources or even people in the same way as you did. So the way I think about it is that you have to first manage yourself. So if you are able to, my personal view is that if you are able to manage yourself, everything else will get managed. So I think if we are resilient, we are sure of the purpose. Let's say we are walking on a certain path, then I think the right people will come along. My favorite example is of again I go back to Gandhiji, his Dandi March. He said, he just said, "I'm gonna do this march," and he didn't wait for let's see how many people come in and then I'll start walking only when we have minimum economic size. He said, "I'm just doing it." and then people followed. So I would use that metaphor to say that if you are sure of yourself, you are able to manage yourself, you have a right purpose. I think the people who come along with you in that journey are just the right people for you. You don't have to worry about managing them. They will manage themselves as long as they are aligned to your purpose. So I don't think we should try to manage or select. They, I think, will self-select themselves. If you are sure of what you're doing, why you're going, where you're going, they will come along. It's like our own group, my running group. People who like to run will come along. I don't have to manage them and stuff like that. So I think we can take some inspiration from our other social groups where people are coming together for a common purpose. And
Mm.
our job is to make sure that we are there for it, and others will come, and that's the group that we want to work with. Yeah. So yeah, my formulas also keep evolving as I learn. And I try to keep a formula so that I also remember it in terms of a framework. So the five variable formula that I have is one is the H, which is a sort of a constant, and then S and triple E. Now, the H is really the heredity. And many of us have some heredity problems or whatever it is. So we need to be cognizant of that and deal accordingly. So if you have hypertension or diabetes or whatever, then make sure that you don't eat too much sugar. So that's one part of it, which is managing your hereditary activity. But S and triple E, these four variables are entirely in our control. To have a good health is what I have experimented upon and found out. And to me, those four variables are sleep, eating, exercising, and expression. Expression meaning how's our thought process, how do we view the world, and so forth. So my own sleep, I have figured out that I like 8 to 9 hours of sleep. So over time, I found that, and now I act accordingly. So I don't take late night flights, early morning flights. I try to make sure that wherever I'm traveling, also I get my full sleep. Otherwise, I won't be productive. It's not good for anyone, and so on and so forth. So sleep got to figure out and get that right, because that's very critical. Eating, since I'm into marathon running, my simple goal for myself is I should not carry more weight in my next marathon run, which means just constant weight. So once in a while, you go to a shadi or you go to some party and function and all of that. So I may overeat, and I have a weighing machine at home, and I think, yeah, looks like I've gained 2 kgs. Maybe over the next few weeks, let me just do some dieting and less eating and so on. So it's purely a quantitative method of weight control is what I follow in my eating. So I'll go to a buffet. I'll just sit in the chair and tell someone to just get me an egg or a dosa or whatever. Because if I go there, I may just be tempted to buy something and stuff like that, right? So eating is that, just keep weight under control. Similarly, exercising. I mean, you're aware I do running and badminton and stuff. So that I think keeps me healthy, and I think everyone should do something, whatever works for them. Some physical activity, even if it is walking 45 minutes a day and so forth. Expression is the hard part, but I think my formula for expression is that. When we are born, when we are young, we are able to think only about ourselves. The kid will think about getting milk and feeding themselves, and they have no major view of the rest of the world. But as we grow older, we think of our parents and family, and then the town and the society and all of that. So I think our worldview continues to enhance, and so on and so forth. So I think that just like the universe is also expanding all the time, we need to continue to expand our worldview basis which we can take decisions. I think many a time you'll find that you are still taking decisions based about your own self as the only variable. I think that's problematic. That was true when you were born, when you had no awareness of anything else which was in existence. But now, when you're an adult, if you're still basing decision based on your own selfishness, then clearly that can't be the right formula, because you have absorbed so much data, you're aware of the so many other things, and if your mental model has not added other variables, clearly it will be short term in nature and will not sustain long term. So therefore, the expression part is, to me, again, a optimization equation of our mind, of our purpose, of our goal. And if that equation has just one variable, which is us, that's clearly not going to sustain long. But the many more variables that you can include, I think you will have a far more longer self-sustaining future, is how I think about the last year.
Perfect, Pankaj. Thank you so much. I think in this podcast, we did cover, navigating the noise in terms of identifying authentic mentors. We looked at the right direction, how to have the right direction, purpose versus popularity, and we also looked at self-discovery and inner compass. I think what I didn't realize, Pankaj, you did actually choose youth and direction as the sub-theme. And there were actually questions on themes like culture and ethos, or pubs and drugs and fitness as well. So thanks a lot for giving me additional insights of other themes which you have not selected. And it was lovely to host you again, Pankaj. I think I'll come back with another interview pretty shortly, depending on your time. But thanks a lot for your insights. This will actually go live in 2 weeks from now on. And as you know, teasers will go on. So thanks a lot again for coming to my podcast, Pankaj. Thank you.
Thanks, Ravi. It's always good to be stimulated by your interesting questions, which you give so much thought to. So thank you so much for stimulating my thinking as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay. Bye-bye.